While the prehistoric world was never exactly safe, there were specific coordinates in time and space where the rules of biology seemed to break. Today, we're looking at the worst places to live in prehistory, where basically nature's worst ideas all happening at once. Number 6. Hatzeg Island. Hatzeg Island, located in what is now Romania, was an evolutionary house of horrors. Because of limited space and food, the dinosaurs here suffered from island dwarfism, shrinking to the size of ponies. However, the predators did the exact opposite. Without big meat-eating dinosaurs to compete with, the pterosaurs, flying reptiles, grew to monstrous proportions. 3 named species of Azhdarchids ruled this island, known for their long legs and necks. The smallest, Azhdarcho, still had a 10-foot wingspan, comparable to today's largest birds. It likely hunted amphibians and small reptiles. A much larger threat was Albadraco, with a wingspan of up to 23 feet. If one was walking right next to you, it would easily be tall enough to peer straight over your head. While it could definitely fly, analysis on its leg structure and wings suggest that it was more of a terrestrial creature than not, preferring to prowl the islands and stalking prey by using vegetation as a cover, while flight was more likely used to scope out potential hunting areas. But even Albadraco was small compared to the king of the island, Hatzegopteryx. This was the largest known animal to ever fly, with a wingspan of roughly 39 feet, wider than an F-35 fighter jet. With this wingspan, only the Quetzalcoatlus from North America comes close in size. Its mouth did open wide enough to swallow prey as large as humans. To make things even more grim, there is further evidence which indicates that this was a very messy killer. Its neck and beak were strong enough to withstand forces 10 times its own body weight. This means every thrust of its beak acted like a heavy spear, designed to smash through bone and deep into flesh. Adding to the island's terrors were the surrounding waters. They held the highest diversity of mosasaurs ever found in a single place. The sea was also home to a variety of plesiosaurs. While humanized prey were not their targets, their appearance alone could give you a heart attack. Number 5. Hell Creek Formation. While many prehistoric sites are famous for having a variety of monsters, the Hell Creek Formation in North America was a bad neighborhood for an entirely different reason. This was the domain of the most famous predator of all time, Tyrannosaurus rex. But in Hell Creek, the danger didn't just come from a hungry T-Rex looking for a Triceratops. It came from the fact that these kings were often cannibals. We have found fossilized T-Rex bones with massive puncture wounds that perfectly match the size, shape, and spacing of the teeth of another Tyrannosaurus. These weren't just accidental nips, these were violent, face-biting battles for territory or food. Imagine a world where the top predator is so aggressive that it views its own kind as either a rival to be executed or a convenient snack. The most haunting thing about Hell Creek is that it represents the end of the world. This ecosystem was at its peak when the Chicxulub asteroid struck, meaning these fossils are the last records of these animals before the sky turned to fire. You aren't just looking at a dangerous place to live. You're looking at a world that was about to be wiped off the map by a cosmic catastrophe. Number 4. The Lapingian, the planet of the Gorgons. During the final chapter of the Permian period, 250 million years ago, the land became a literal gauntlet of evolutionary nightmares. This was one of those periods in history where Earth was unrecognizable in nearly every sense, including when it came to time itself, as during those days, the moon had a closer orbit with Earth, causing the days to be shorter than they are currently at around 22 hours. To add on to the confusion, geography was nothing like it is today either, since all the land was smashed together into one giant supercontinent called Pangaea. The land of Pangaea was ruled by a group of predators called Gorgonopsids. These weren't dinosaurs or reptiles, they were therapsids, a group more closely related to us than to lizards, but they looked like something out of a horror film. The king of them all was Inostrancevia, a beast the size of a polar bear, with 6-inch-long saber teeth designed to slice through thick hides. They shared this landscape with Therocephalians, some of which were likely the first land animals to use venom. The terror here wasn't just the predators, but the planet itself. Because Pangaea was so massive, the middle of the continent was too far from the cooling effect of the ocean. This caused the land to reach average temperatures of a blistering 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about twice as hot as the global average today. If you managed to survive the heat and the predators, you would have eventually witnessed the Earth turn into a total apocalyptic wasteland. This was the Great Dying, a period near the end of the Permian that stands as the most brutal extinction event in the history of life. Enormous lava flows, over half a mile thick, buried the landscape as the Siberian traps erupted on a scale humans have never witnessed. These eruptions pumped so much greenhouse gas into the atmosphere that the entire planet's temperature began to skyrocket. As the heat rose, the ozone layer began to vanish, causing UV radiation to increase by 5,000% and slowly suffocating almost every living thing. For the animals living there was no escape. From the smallest insects to the largest saber-toothed titans, life was caught in a global death trap. They weren't just fighting each other for food. They were fighting a planet that was losing its oxygen and literally cooking itself to death. By the time the smoke cleared, 9 out of every 10 species on Earth had been erased. For comparison, the extinction that killed the dinosaurs only wiped out about 17% of biological families. Number 4. The Kem Kem Group. When you think of the Sahara Desert today, you think of endless sand and extreme heat. But 100 million years ago, this was the Kem Kem Group in what is now Morocco. Back then, it was a vast river system, lush and teeming with life, but it came with a terrifying catch. In almost every ecosystem, there is a natural balance. You usually see a huge number of herbivores, like cows or deer, being followed by just a few predators. But the Kem Kem defies these rules, because the fossil record shows an environment that was absolutely infested with giant apex carnivores. We're talking about a world where massive meat eaters were forced to live shoulder to shoulder, creating a density of danger that shouldn't technically be possible. It wasn't just a few big lizards running around, but rather a collection of the most specialized killing machines to ever walk the Earth. On land, you had the massive shark-toothed Carcharodontosaurus. If you jumped into the water to escape, you were in the territory of the sail-backed Spinosaurus. Even the clouds offered no safety, as the pterosaur Alanka patrolled the skies with a 20-foot wingspan. Paleontologists called this an ecological puzzle. How did so many giants survive without eating each other into extinction? The answer lies in the fossils of the Onchoprhistis, a sawfish so massive it reached 26 feet in length. Its fossilized barbs are often found scarred by the teeth of land predators, suggesting these giants avoided fighting each other by feasting on the massive monsters living in the river. Number 2. The Silent Pompei. Next up, we have to look at a place where the danger didn't have teeth or claws. 12 million years ago, in Nebraska, a supervolcano erupted in Idaho, sending a cloud of gas-like ash thousands of miles away. The animals didn't die instantly. Instead, they breathed in the ash, which acted like microscopic shards of glass that shredded their lungs from the inside out. When you look at the skeletons of the Teleoceras found here, you see a terrifying pathological detail. Their bones show a lumpy abnormal growth caused by chronic oxygen deprivation. These animals spent weeks or months slowly suffocating as the sky rained gray dust. Mothers were found huddled with their calves, their skeletons perfectly preserved in the positions they died in, waiting for a breath of air that never came. Today, you can visit Ashfall Fossil Beds State Historical Park and see a 10-foot layer of white ash that shows the timeline of the disaster. At the very bottom, we find the smallest victims, birds and turtles, whose tiny lungs failed almost immediately. Above them are mid-sized animals, like 3-toed horses, that lasted longer. Near the top are the largest victims, including the rhinos, because big bodies can keep going longer before the damage finally catches up. Number 1. The Carboniferous Swamps. If you were dropped into the coal swamps of the Carboniferous around 320 million years ago, you would have stepped into one of the most alien and terrifying landscapes in Earth's history. This was a world with 35% oxygen, much higher than our current 21%. This extra fuel in the atmosphere allowed the creepy crawlies of the world to break all the rules of physics and grow to sizes that seem like something out of a horror movie. The most famous monster of these swamps was Arthropods, the largest land arthropod of all time. This millipede-like giant could grow over 8 feet long, and some estimates suggest even larger individuals may have reached truly absurd sizes, and the sky was hardly any safer. The Carboniferous is famous for its giant flying insects, including griffin flies like Meganura, which had wingspans of more than 2 feet. These were not true dragonflies, but they looked very similar.